Hello again, and thank you for joining me for another episode of You Would Think. Today, we are finishing the cross-examination of Dr. Mack, and there's also another witness who will take the stand, and at one point, the defense asked for a mistrial because of this witness bringing in statements about religion again. So we'll see how that plays out. Full disclosure, I am not an attorney. I do not have a law degree. My degree is in forensics and crime scene technology. Watching trials has always been a bit of a hobby of mine, so I thought I would make a YouTube channel, and that way I can share the engagement with you. I like to hear your perspective and just be able to engage and, talk about trials. So, with that being said, now we can get to it. So again, we are now on day 19. And Kevin Reddington is going to continue to cross-examine Dr. Mack. And it does get very interesting.
You've also testified, since we're talking about it, in the state of Pennsylvania, right?
I believe I have.
Was that a Park Dietz, or was that you individually, or one of your other entities?
You'd have to specify which case.
Commonwealth versus Torres, 342 MAL 2021, Pennsylvania.
Can you cite that case again, please?
Sure. Commonwealth versus Torres, 342 MAL 2021, Pennsylvania, where the court held that that would be Heilbrun Mack, was apparently certified only in child and adolescent psychiatry. You lacked forensic certification to testify in the field that you were ostensibly going to testify in. Does that refresh your memory?
No.
Did you testify? Did you testify in Commonwealth versus Torres in Pennsylvania?
I don't remember.
How about Commonwealth versus Carter in New Jersey? You remember that one?
No.
Do you recall that the court held on an appeal that you used an approach that fell below the standard of forensic practice?
No.
How about Feder LeBron versus the Secretary of DCF, 710 Fed 3rd, 1202 in Florida? You remember that case, I'm sure, right?
I do.
And in Feder, there was a gentleman, Mr. Feder LeBron, who was a Navy veteran, who was a single father and had a child. And he was a member or a person that was able to get benefits from what's called TANF, T-A-N-F, Temporary Aid to Needy Families. You remember that?
I do.
And the state of Florida decided that because needy families consisted of either minorities or drug users or people that would not be reliable to work in the confines of working underneath the TANF, so they wanted to have blood testing and drug testing of all the people that were temporary aid to needy families, right?
That's your conception of what was happening with that.
Well, it's my conception from reading the case, sir. Do you agree, sir, that TANF is an acronym for temporary aid to needy families?
Yes, it is.
Do you agree, sir, that this gentleman, Mr. Feder LeBron, was a plaintiff in a lawsuit against the state of Florida?
Yes.
Do you agree, sir, that it was in federal court?
Yes.
You agree, sir, that in federal court, the court held that, in fact, you were unqualified to give an opinion that you attempted to give, saying that it was perfectly appropriate to test by way of urine or blood people that are benefiting from the TANF program, because your testimony was that they belong to a class of people that, I guess, had to be tested. Right?
I don't agree with your conceptualization.
Okay, so the court ultimately ruled that your argument, your testimony on behalf of the state of Florida, the government, and you indicated that TANF benefits, applicants for TANF were people that were involved with drug use, violence, and higher rates of suicide. Remember those words, those three words?
The testimony that I provided.
Do you remember testifying, sir, about the people that are the beneficiaries of the TANF program, people that need aid because of needy families, are people that should be tested by way of blood or urine? And your argument, sir, was because they are of a class that would be more likely to commit a crime or have suicide or drug use. Did you testify to that?
That is not the way that that testimony or that report was presented. No,
okay,
I would disagree.
So your answer is no. Let's keep it that way. Your answer is no. So you recall, sir, that there was an appeal, and in fact, on the appeal, it was determined that, again, yet again, you were not qualified to offer a relevant opinion because, number one, you never studied the TANF population. Recall that?
No, that is not the correct conceptualization.
Says you. Number two, that you did not survey any data. Recall that, sir?
Specifically in Florida is the nuance on that issue.
And number three, that you had no research whatsoever on the data that you based your opinion on. Would you agree with that, sir?
No.
Do you agree, sir, that the court held that you relied on other researchers' studies and didn't make any effort whatsoever to form an opinion based on your own research? Do you agree with that?
I don't remember the specific language of the court.
All right. Do you recall that ultimately your testimony was stricken?
No, I don't believe that it was stricken.
Okay. In any event, sir, you would agree with me that you have a memory of Mack being subject to this attack, if you will, by the attorneys on behalf of the people that were involved with TANF, right? You remember that much, right?
Yes,
okay.
I do.
Thank you.
So the first thing that Kevin Reddington does is recites a bunch of cases where Dr. Mack had testified and he was deemed unqualified. For an expert witness, any case where you are deemed unqualified is like a dagger to your career. And then to have multiple is even worse. And a way to avoid this issue is not to hire experts who have this kind of background, because it's only going to create fodder for the defense, and that is exactly what the defense is doing. And after that, he asks Dr. Mack if there is a scale in which one could determine, or a test rather, if one could determine if somebody is trying to, like fake out the psychiatrist. And he says that he does not believe that there is a test that you can test the validity of somebody's statement. Well, then Kevin Reddington asks him about the MMPI test or the K scale. which are tests that are designed to catch that exact thing, if somebody's lying or not. And I don't know for the life of me why Dr. Mack just danced circles around this question like a seasoned politician. It was very strange, slightly annoying, but we're going to watch a little bit of it.
Interest, yes.
And it's of interest because if a person is, in fact, masking or lying about their mind, trying to fake out an evaluating forensic psychiatrist or psychologist, when you say that's of interest, that's something that can be a test result that a jury could look at, right?
Well, I'm not sure if there's a test that specifically states a person is lying.
No. You ever heard of the MMPI?
I have.
Okay. You ever heard of the K scale?
Yes.
What is that?
Well, the K scale is among the internal validity scales of the MMPI. The MMPI is an assessment of the individual's personality.
Okay. So let's focus on the K scale, sir. When you say that let me ask you again, what is your understanding of what the K scale is seeking to find out?
I answer this in the context of the purpose of the MMPI and what the MMPI is designed.
What are you smiling for? This is not funny, sir.
Sustained. Next question. Next question.
MMPI, K scale, focus. What does it mean, sir?
So the MMPI is an assessment of personality.
He then challenges him on what mania means to him. So not reading from the DSM-5, which he continuously tries to reference, but what does mania mean to him? And he was able to state some of the symptoms and the time frame associated with mania. But it seemed like it was pulling teeth just to get that information out of this guy.
In your opinion, sir, it's okay to give a woman who is coming to you for help, who's been diagnosed with a bipolar 2, it's okay to give her the SSRI, in your opinion. Is that what you're telling this jury?
That's not what I said.
Oh, okay. Tell me what you said.
I said the concern about the relationship between SSRIs and mania or bipolar disorder has lessened, but that doesn't necessarily mean that people's practices have changed.
And when you say mania, what does that mean to you, sir?
Mania is a state defined in the DSM. I believe we discussed this the other day.
Well, go ahead. What is it? What are the symptoms of mania?
So mania is a condition, and it's defined not only by the symptoms that I'm going to mention, but also by a time frame. And as we discussed the other day, it is a mood state that is used as a building block for bipolar type 1. So one would need to see 7 days consecutive, and where the following symptoms, 4 at least of the following symptoms are present most of the day for all of these days. And that would include a thought process called flight of ideas. Secondly, distractibility. Thirdly, an engagement in activities that are pleasurable but have painful consequences. Rapid speech, or what we would call pressured speech.
Pressured speech.
Or rapid speech. Additionally, grandiosity and an exaggerated amount or excess degree of goal-directed behavior.
And what is your... Go ahead.
Go ahead.
What is your understanding, sir, of the symptoms of bipolar 2?
So here, He's literally just trying to get this expert to disclose his conclusion after evaluating Lindsay. And again, for some reason, it is like pulling teeth with this man.
With me, sir, is in fact a major or a serious mental illness, right?
Yes.
And your opinion, after you had your opportunity to go back again with Kirk on the third day and interview Lindsay in Tewksbury Hospital, and how long did you interview her for the third day, asking her questions?
I'm not sure I remember. It was perhaps 3 hours.
So after you completed your evaluation, you came to a conclusion that, in fact, Lindsay was suffering from a major mental disease or defect, to wit, bipolar 2. Is that correct?
No.
No. So why don't we look at your report and you tell me what your ultimate opinion was of your diagnosis of Lindsay after evaluating her, sir.
I think I said this the other day that my
Why don't you say it again, sir?
Yes, I'm happy to. My opinion was that, and is, that she suffered from a major depressive episode, and that was a part of major depressive disorder.
Well, looking at your report, sir, on your conclusions, would you agree with...
You're right. He's reading from
Do you have your report?
He's reading from the wrong report.
Do you have your report, sir?
Counsel, can I see it sidebar just for a second?
It's not the wrong report.
He then proceeded to go extremely hard at this expert's knowledge of several different entities.
The way it's written is a decreased need for sleep.
Okay.
I don't know
and
that she has decreased need for sleep.
And in
She
the
was
medical...
trying very
Go
hard.
ahead.
I think she desperately wanted to sleep.
Is that what you think, sir, or is that what your opinion is based on the medical records?
That is my understanding based on the totality of the information.
Okay. So, is it your understanding that she also exhibited signs or symptoms of postpartum depression?
So to the extent that she had depression in a period after having had a baby, that is not how DSM would refer to it, but as you said, everybody would be postpartum in that regard. So my opinion is that she had major depressive episodes in this year, or within 4 or 5 months following birth.
Sir, you're familiar with the postpartum psychosis. You're familiar with that, right?
So there's the concept of having psychosis.
Are you familiar with postpartum psychosis, sir? Yes or no?
I'm familiar with a proposed diagnostic entity called postpartum psychosis, and the idea that people can have psychosis as a mental disorder at other times.
You're familiar with the Department of Mental Health in Massachusetts, right?
Yes.
You're familiar with the funding of the Department of Mental Health for the Massachusetts Child Psychiatry Access Product. You're familiar with that, right?
No.
Called the MCPAP, that focuses on postpartum psychosis and postpartum depression. Are you familiar with that, sir?
No.
Would you agree with me that when a person has a child and is within the postpartum period, that they may present to a doctor with symptoms that might lead the doctor to believe that they are suffering from postpartum depression? Would you agree with that?
I'm not familiar with that particular program. I'm happy to.
All right, no, I know you're happy, but I'm just asking, sir, about postpartum depression. Forget the program. You're not familiar with the program. We get it. I'm asking you now, sir, about your familiarity with postpartum depression.
Yes.
Okay. And there are symptoms of postpartum depression. Fair to say?
Postpartum depression.
Are there symptoms, sir? Yes.
I am familiar.
Okay. And forget the DSM. Let's just focus on the symptoms as you understand it for postpartum depression, which, according to you, has to occur within the first 4 weeks of birth. But quite frankly, it could be 6 weeks, it could be 12 weeks, it could be a year, right?
You said forget the DSM, except that making diagnoses in psychiatry requires an authority, and we utilize, in this country, the DSM.
Maybe we shouldn't?
All right, sustained. Next question.
So are you familiar, sir? You're not familiar with MCPAP for mothers in Massachusetts. You're not familiar with that subsidiary of the Department of Mental Health, right?
No.
Are you familiar with the Department of Mental Health postpartum psychosis provider training? In other words, what the LISCWs are learning and what the psychologists or psychiatrists working for the DMH are learning about postpartum depression, postpartum psychosis. Are you familiar with those standards?
No.
How about the Edinburgh postnatal depression scale? We talked about that Friday. You're familiar with that, sir?
I am.
But you don't feel it's important. You think the regular GAD scale, general anxiety scale, is sufficient, I guess, right?
I don't think I said that.
Oh, okay. So do you think that the Edinburgh postnatal depression scale is important as a tool for a diagnosing physician dealing with a woman that's within the time frame and exhibiting symptoms of postpartum depression?
Yes.
Okay. So what was Lindsay's scale, if you know now? You had the weekend, I imagine, to look it up.
I don't offhand know what it was.
Okay. So if I offhand told you that it was pretty much off the chart, would that have any impact on your opinion as to the utility of the postnatal depression scale that was administered to her?
That's not a form of the question.
No, sustained. I mean, overruled. Let me ask. Sorry.
It's a scale that elicits distress, which she had, and it elicits depression, which she had.
And it's not just limited to distress and depression. It's focused on, and again, I'll read it, the Edinburgh postnatal depression scale, right?
Right.
So, no, the answer's right.
She had diagnosis of depression. She was being treated for depression.
All right. So you, in any event, you don't utilize, apparently, the EPDS, right? You don't utilize it in your practice, whatever that may be.
Correct.
Okay.
Not that I'm against it. I just haven't had the opportunity to use it in some time.
Just like you think that, an episiotomy is a tear, I guess, when a person has a baby, right?
I'm sorry?
You remember Friday you said that when a baby is born and the woman suffers a tear, that you called it a particular name?
An episiotomy.
Right.
When there's a need for a tear, there are several different degrees.
No, wait a minute. Hold on now. Hold on. Excuse me, sir. Friday you said that the episiotomy is, in fact, a tear. Do you remember saying that?
I'm not sure exactly the wording.
Did somebody tell you that you were way off base on that testimony Friday, sir?
I'm not sure what you're referring to.
I'm referring to you saying that an episiotomy is a tear. And it's not.
And, Your Honor, is there a question before the witness?
I already asked the question. I'm looking at him staring back at me.
All right. Why don't you
The last,
just hold on? Well, you can rephrase that.
Do you remember saying Friday that episiotomy is a tear? Do you remember saying that to this jury, sir?
I don't remember the exact words that I stated.
Okay. Did anybody
After a tear.
Did anybody over the weekend tell you that, in fact, you were wrong and that it is a surgical procedure and that a natural tear has nothing to do with that procedure other than repairing? Did anybody talk to you about that at all over the weekend?
No.
Okay.
No.
So you would agree with me, at least, that postpartum depression, even though you don't use the EPDS, does have symptoms that a doctor would consider if a patient came to him or her for help. Understand, as a doctor, that if a woman has a baby and comes to you because she is in trouble, that you would look for symptoms, would you not? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And if the woman told you that she was less able to laugh, no emotion, unable to see the funny side, is that a symptom, sir, in your opinion, of postpartum depression? Yes or no?
It's a symptom of depression.
Was Lindsay Clancy complaining that she was unable to laugh or emote or see the funny side, if you will, of life when she went to see Dr. Tufts and Dr. Gelada? Do you recall that, sir?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so let's just say the next issue would be stopped looking forward to things. You're familiar with that? People don't look forward to things, and they, what is that called? Anhedonia or something like that?
Right. So that was one of the several elements of major depressive episode that I referred to the other day.
Right. But it's also one of the symptoms of postpartum depression, correct?
They are the same. When
Okay.
you have depression and you meet the qualifier, then you can call it depression with postpartum onset.
How about a person that comes to you and says that they're anxious and worried constantly for no good reason? Would you agree, sir, yes or no, that that's a symptom of postpartum depression, according to the authorities?
So,
Can you answer that yes or no, sir? It's real easy. Sir.
All right, hold on. If you can't answer the question as asked, doctor, just say you can't answer it as asked, and I'll ask counsel to rephrase it. Go ahead.
Yes.
So would you agree with me, sir, that the next symptom of postpartum depression would be anxious or worried for no good reason?
So I can't answer that question.
You can't. You can't?
I said I can't.
Okay. Was Lindsay Clancy expressing to the doctors and the nurse practitioners and the LICSWs or whatever on the medical records that she was anxious and worried on a daily basis for no apparent reason?
Yes.
So we can see how hard Kevin Reddington is trying to get this information out of this expert, and it should not be this difficult. I don't know if the expert is being this difficult on purpose or if he has a different agenda. Like, I don't know. But I can say with pretty full confidence that this guy is not as knowledgeable, I think, as he would need to be an expert. So, the last part of this, he will ask about different features that Lindsay either did or did not possess, and then they get into some of the things that would have been found in the medical records, but I think it's becoming much more clear that this man, I don't think, actually read those records, at least not thoroughly, but that's my opinion.
According to the Mass General Hospital major research project, along with the Department of Mental Health dealing with postpartum psychosis, would indicate that hearing voices, a voice commanding her to act, is a symptom of postpartum psychosis. Do you agree with that? Yes or no? Just give me a yes or no.
I can't answer that.
Okay, the answer is no. The answer is no.
All right, he just doesn't agree with it. Next question.
You answered these questions several times now.
Really?
Overruled. You're going to let him ask that question if you want to ask that again.
So let's move on, sir, so we don't fight over number one. How about number two? Delusional beliefs, distorted reality. Would you agree that that's a symptom of postpartum psychosis, sir? Yes or no?
You said number one, number two. I don't know what authority you're referring to.
Do you agree, sir, that a symptom of postpartum psychosis, in addition to the hearing of the voices, would be delusional beliefs and a distorted reality?
I can't answer because I still don't know if you're referring to the phenomenon of psychosis or you're referring to some illness.
I'm referring to the illness that Lindsay Clancy was suffering that's in her medical record, sir, that you tell this jury you read. That's all I'm asking.
Well, I didn't find any evidence of psychosis in her record.
Okay.
Other than...
Was there any was there any indication that she was hearing voices? Did she complain about that, sir? Yes or no?
She complained about intrusive thoughts.
Okay.
If that's what you're referring.
How about the delusional beliefs and distorted reality? Do you recall her complaining about distorted reality, sir? Yes or no?
I'm not sure she used those terms. If you're referring
No,
to...
never mind what I'm referring to. Your answer is no, right?
No, she did not display psychotic features.
I didn't ask about psychotic features. I'm asking you about delusional beliefs and distorted reality, doctor.
That is a type of psychosis.
Okay.
So I didn't see any evidence of any psychotic features throughout the medical records.
So it's your understanding from reviewing her medical records that Lindsay never indicated that she was not participating in reality, that she was in a disassociated state, that she was out of touch with reality. You're telling this jury you never saw that?
I did see that evidence, that component that you discussed with their physician.
Great.
I don't see that as a sign, strictly speaking, of psychosis. It may have been in some cases, but I don't see any signs of psychosis or delusions.
Like in this postpartum psychosis, sir, you'd agree that delusional beliefs, distorted reality is a symptom, yes or no? Not waxing and waning with your answer, yes or no?
Are you referring to an authority there?
Doctor,
you agree.
Doctor, hold on. Here's the way this works, all right? You don't really ask a lot of questions. You answer the questions, all right? If I told you before, if you can't answer a question the way it's framed, just let me know, and I'll tell counsel to frame it in a different way, all right? So that's the rules. That's how it works here. So go ahead, Mr. Reddington.
Thank you.
The judge has to reprimand this man, like, I think I counted 5 times. So, next up, we have another rebuttal witness called by the Commonwealth. This is Dr. Heilbrun. And he is going to get into some dangerous territory that is going to cause the defense to file a motion for a mistrial. So let's take a look at that.
The things that she said when asked about what happened is that in the course of strangling each child, she said, "Go to God, baby, go to God." And that was part of her expectation, that she and the children would be together in heaven with God. She was raised as a Catholic, and this, as I understand, Catholic considerations, that's not necessarily what happens, but when I asked her about that, when I said, isn't suicide a mortal sin?
Yeah, can I see counsel over here?
Now the Commonwealth is going to say that this was not intentional, but when you listen to his testimony, there are numerous hesitations, right, in his saying what he's saying, and there are numerous opportunities for the Commonwealth to stop him from saying these things, but they don't do it. So the defense files their motion for mistrial, and we'll hear a little bit of argument from them and from the Commonwealth regarding their conduct.
First from the defendant, and then I will hear from the Commonwealth. Mr. Reddington.
Thank you, Judge. Your Honor, this has been obviously a long trial and a lot of work on the part of everybody involved, from the court to the staff to the prosecutors to myself, and needless to say, the strain on Lindsay Clancy. I have to move for a mistrial reluctantly. The reason is that this is intentional misconduct on the part of the prosecution. You know that this whole idea of injecting Roman Catholic faith, the concept of mortal sin, into this trial occurred, I don't even remember now, about a week ago, and I objected, but before I could get the objection out, Your Honor had us at the sidebar at the same time, and very forcefully, in my opinion, indicated to the jurors that they should not consider that to any degree. At the time, I put on record the fact that I did not feel that, I felt that the court's instructions were sufficient. They were forceful, they were right on point, and we moved forward without a motion for a mistrial. I made a tactical decision. But unfortunately, at this point, it's a concern I have, because this is just over the top. It's the same thing again, talking about religion, talking about heaven, talking about killing people and the impact or the effect that it would have on Lindsay as well as her children. The fact that this is not the first time that it occurred during the trial, and the prosecution has previously brought up the concept of mortal sin, based on your ruling in the past, in conjunction with the fact that they brought it up again, I believe it was intentional misconduct, and I feel that the court should grant the motion for mistrial.
All right, thank you. Commonwealth?
Thank you, Your Honor. The question I asked the witness did not ask for any testimony about religion, about Catholicism, about mortal sins, or anything like that. And the slide is still up on the screen. There's nothing on the slide about Catholicism, about mortal sins, about any of that. The witness was explaining his reasoning. I don't think it was intentional on part of the witness either. If we look at his interview of Ms. Clancy, one of the things that this witness has to do is determine whether the defendant knew the wrongfulness of her conduct. And that can be either that it was criminally wrong or morally wrong. And he explored that with her in the interview and asked her about whether she knew it was legally wrong, and she said she had no concept of legal consequences. And then he went on to ask her about moral wrongfulness and about her religion and whether she knew it was morally wrong, and she did say that she had knowledge that suicide was considered sinful. So I believe that's where the witness was going in trying to explain his reasoning. I don't think he was intentionally trying to inflame the jury or cause an issue in this case. I know I certainly wasn't, because I didn't ask a question about her religion or a question that would invoke that kind of response. I asked him to explain what was on the slides, and that's not on the slides. So there was no intentional conduct by the Commonwealth. That was not where I intended to go with this questioning, and I don't think that the witness intended to do any harm either. He was just explaining his rationale. So I would ask that the jury be instructed to disregard the answer, and I can speak to the witness and tell him not to talk about that reasoning for behind his thoughts, that he can testify about his conclusions, but to leave that portion of his reasoning out of his testimony.
So now we'll hear a little bit from the judge and what his ultimate ruling is going to be.
Well, here's a concern I have, is what the witness did say in regards to go to God, baby, go to God. That was statements that had been made in evidence already. And then he indicated that was part of her expectation, that she and the children would be together in heaven with God. All right. Now we're getting a little closer to problematic area. Then he testified she was raised as a Catholic And as I understand Catholic considerations, that's not necessarily what happens. How is any of that proper at this point? But it was not, well, I'm not going to declare a mistrial at this time. What I am going to do is I'm going to bring the jury in. I'm going to tell them to disregard it. I'm going to tell them that's an inappropriate area of inquiry and that this witness's understanding of Catholic dogma or Catholic teaching is irrelevant. There's no evidence of his background or training or having been to the seminary or any of that. And so I think, and that's where he ejected that. And so I am giving that, but the Commonwealth, I'm going to strongly, and perhaps the strongest language, talk to him and let him know that he can't go into that. And then my thought is, I'm going to bring the jury back in. I'm going to give them that instruction, and then I'm going to send them home. I don't want them leaving here today with the last thing they heard was a discussion about this witness's understanding of the Catholic teaching. That's not the last thing they're going to hear. And so my thought is that as best I can is to address that and minimize the damage or prejudice, because I do presume that this jury will be able to follow those instructions. And so that would be my thought. We'll come back. That will give the Commonwealth plenty of time to talk to this witness, to let him know the areas that he should and should not go into. And then we can come back tomorrow and we can resume his direct examination and cross-examination. All right, so that would be my thought. We'll bring the jury in. I'll give them that instruction, and then we will recess until tomorrow. Okay?
Your Honor, just for the record, could I note an objection?
Sure, absolutely. All right, so we ready for the jury? Yeah.
All right. Jurors enter. This court's now in session. Please be seated.
For the purpose of the record, we return back to the trial of Commonwealth versus Lindsay Clancy. All parties are present, including the defendant and including the 18 jurors.
All right. Well, members of the jury, just before we broke, there was some testimony from that last witness. And I just want to give you some instructions in regards to that testimony. And I just wanted to let the religion that the defendant was raised with is absolutely an inappropriate area of testimony. It is to be stricken. It is not to be considered. I can't be any more clear of that. It cannot be considered. Secondly, the witness's understanding of Catholic teachings and considerations, again, is immaterial, it's irrelevant, it is to be disregarded based on that testimony. All right? And so, because we had a little bit of a delay due to this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to excuse you until tomorrow. All right? And so the thought is we'll come in, we'll finish up with this witness. I believe the Commonwealth has another witness at that point, and then we'll talk about where we go. I apologize for any kind of confusion or delay, but I just wanted to make sure you had those instructions with you when you left here today. All right? So, I'm sorry, so I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.
Court.
That was the end of day 20. And second part of the rebuttal witnesses. I believe the Commonwealth said that they were going to call another witness but I'm not entirely sure. So we'll just have to kind of see how that plays out tomorrow. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of You Would Think. And if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe so I can bring you more content. And otherwise, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.